Hi everybody, welcome to Flosstube number 52. It has been another little bit since I've had a chance to visit with you guys, so I appreciate those of you that are hanging in there waiting on me to come back on after a bit of an absence. It has been a crazy, busy, hectic last couple of months, but all of it has been so worthwhile. I've sure enjoyed it. Now, maybe not so much the moving part. That I could probably do without, but all of the retreats and visiting with other stitching sisters has been absolutely fantastic. We just got home this past Thursday from our retreat in Enfield, New Hampshire. And this year was absolutely wonderful to see all the leaves in their colors. The leaf peak was a little bit later this year than it was last year. And so on our drive up, we saw the most beautiful colors in the leaves and just had a great drive. Now, when it was time to come home, the leaves had kind of done their thing. And so it was a long way home from Enfield to Arkansas, but we still had lots of fun visiting and just made it a good road trip. So anyway, thank you guys for sticking in there and waiting. The retreat, I do want to talk a little bit about our Shaker Sampler Sisters retreat that we held at the Enfield Shaker Museum. We had 2 sessions, great ladies. We had a fun class project. And if you go on my Facebook page, you can see some pictures of the project. And we just had a lot of fun putting a little shaker sewing basket together. And Mary Susan, my friend that helped host it with me, she did a technique that I'd never seen done before. The Shakers were known for their poplar wear, and it was something that most of the Shaker sisters would do and then sell to raise money for their community. And they're the only ones anywhere in the world that really made the poplar wear. And so Mary Susan learned how to replicate it using a needle weaving technique. And so it was great to see that come together. And to be honest with you, I had a hard time, unless you pick the 2 pieces right up next to each other, it was really hard to tell the real poplar wear from the needle weaving technique poplar wear. And so I think everybody was like moaning and groaning a little bit, but in the end, when they had their completed piece, they were so proud of themselves, and they should be. We also, before the retreat started, there were 2 optional classes. One was a cooking class with Kathy from the Rustic Gourmet, and she taught them how to make a loaf of bread, shaker bread, and a lemon pie. And I think the ladies had a great time that took that class. We even had one husband who was such a good sport, and he joined in as well. Then the second class was a broom-making technique. And what I think is interesting, the Shakers were actually the ones who invented the flat broom. So when you're sweeping your house or your porch, you can thank the Shakers for inventing that flat broom for you, because they discovered that it just made it a lot easier to sweep a larger area with a flat broom. So I'm going to show you. I did take the broom class, and it was so much fun, but I'm not gonna lie, it was a lot of work. When we left the class, we were all saying how much we felt like we had used our arm muscles in our hands, and it really was quite a bit of work, but we had an excellent teacher, and we all went away with some brooms. So I'm gonna show you, we made 3, I was so excited. So the first broom, this was our first attempt at making a broom. This was the easiest one. So this is just a little whisk broom. Mine's kind of got a little angle on it. And that kind of happened by accident. Some of my straw got a little bit longer on one side than the other, so I said, hey, it looks like it's gonna be an angled broom. So I'm purposely making it angled. You wrap the cording around the top, and you can see how much straw we actually have packed in this little bitty whisk broom. So this was our first broom attempt. Then we made a turkey wing broom, and I've always admired these when we've gone to Enfield in the gift shop, but this was so much more fun to actually get to make my very own and bring it home with me rather than just buy one someone else had made. I can say, hey, I made that broom. And a fun fact, My great uncle on my mother's side was actually a broom maker. So maybe it runs in the family, I don't know, but I did attempt another broom. So this is called a turkey wing broom. And it was just a process of lots of bundles, and you just keep winding and wrapping another bundle until it forms this natural curve. And that's why they call it a turkey wing. See if I can, there you go. I can hold it back a little bit and you can see it better. We got to pick whatever color binding we wanted. You could mix in some colored broom straw if you wanted to, and just kind of make it your own. So that's my turkey wing. Then our instructor said we finished early, so if we wanted to try another broom, we could. And this one I thought was interesting. I'm gonna put it in my kitchen. This one is for cake testing. So it just looks like a little whisk broom, but if you notice, it's not got the finer broom straws like this on the end. They're a little thicker. This is more the top portion of the broom straw. And so what you would do is just have this in your kitchen, and if you were baking a cake or something that you needed to test and see if it was done, you would just take one of these broom straws, break it off kind of where the braided part is. Sounds a lot easier. And that's your cake tester. You would just stick that down in your cake, see if it comes out clean, then your cake's finished, it's done. If it doesn't, then you need to bake it a little bit longer. So this is something that the Shakers would have used in their kitchens to test their cakes or whatever else they were baking. And then the top is just a different little weaving technique that he taught us to do. So I had so much fun in the broom making class, and I encourage you, if you ever get a chance to go up to Enfield Shaker Museum, they offer different classes throughout the year as well. We just set these up so that our retreat attendees could take them if they wanted to. But I do know that the Shaker Museum offers these kind of scattered throughout the year. So if you get a chance and you're close enough that you can run over there, it's well worth your time, and you can bring some brooms home for yourself. I had a couple other things I wanted to share about the retreat. There is tons of stuff to see in the area. We took a few days in between sessions and then a few days before the first session started to do a little bit of antiquing. And you guys know how I love sewing tomatoes. And so I was actually lucky enough to find a few on this antiquing venture. So I'm going to show you my finds. This was just one. It's just a little velveteen kind of sewing tomato, but it's a nice size. I liked kind of the texture of it. So that's one. Then this one is just a little one that's been made. Someone did a little bit of embroidery on the top. I don't know that it was Shaker, but it very well could have been, because a lot of the times on their strawberries, they would have done a similar type embroidery. So who knows? It's just a cute tomato anyway, whoever made it. Then I found this little pincushion. It looks like a globe, but it kind of also looks like a tomato is what I'm telling myself anyway. And there was a place here. I'm not really sure what that's for unless you slip a thimble over the top of it. I'm not sure. If you have any ideas, let me know. Then on the side, it has a tape measure. So I thought that was just kind of cool. It has lots of dust and dirt on it. That was free. I didn't have to pay extra for the dust and dirt. I've got to clean it up a little bit. But I thought that was just kind of a unique little piece as well. Then I found two pincushions that I want to share with you. One of them I have reproduced because I just fell in love with it. And it's actually a release. I sent an email out to shops this weekend and am taking pre-orders through the week, and will mail all pre-orders on Monday, November the 20th. So if you're interested in the two releases that I have, be sure and tell your local LNS. They can contact me and get you one to stitch. But my original for this little release is still somewhere in one of my boxes. I haven't got it uncovered yet, because I stitched on this while I was at the retreat. Because, you know, have you ever bought a pattern or something and you just could not wait to start it. Even if you had something else going, you're like, that can set to the side, I've got to stitch this. That's kind of how I was with this little Quaker pincushion. And there was a little bit of providence that came with the pincushion. It was stitched by a Quaker named Sally Speakman in the late 1800s. I've been Googling and trying to do a little bit more research on Sally. And the only thing I found where a man married a Sally Smith, who then became Sally Speakman. But this was much earlier than supposedly this pincushion was around. So I don't know if it was a relative or what the case was. I've still got to do a bit of digging. But anyway, Sally that made this pincushion was a Quaker, and so I just thought it was a sweet little pincushion. This front of the pincushion is a reproduction of the original, and it just has a sweet little floral basket and a floral border around it. And I wanted to do something on the back. Now, the original pincushion didn't have anything on the back, but I thought about it and decided to kind of come up with something else. So on mine, I have an Ackworth sampler, and I used the lettering off of the Ackworth to do the name Pins for the back. And then I used some of the same border from the front, a couple of the little flower motifs to add to the word pins, and did this for the back. So you've got the front with the cute little floral basket, and then the back that says the word pin. So you could lay it either side you want to. I joined it together just by kind of a whip stitch, and it was okay, but it just seemed like it needed something else. And so I got some of this silk ribbon and ruched it, and then just tacked it around the edge of the pillow. And I was happy with it after I did that. Just kind of gave it the last little bit of something that it needed. So this is a release, Quaker Pincushion. So be sure if it's something you think you would like to add to your stitching spot, or you have a need for a little gift for a friend, this would be a quick stitch and something easy to finish as well. So let your local L&S know, and those will be available this next week. Then I found another little pincushion, same place that I got the Quaker, and I've charted it, and I'll put this on my website sometime as a freebie. I just thought it was sweet because remember the sewing tomatoes, how I just love those. These could be apples, but when I look at it, I'm telling myself they're little sewing tomatoes. And so this was another little one. It didn't have any name associated with it. I have no idea who made this little pincushion, but it was just sweet. And to me, it looked like lots of little sewing tomatoes all around the edge. So I'll chart this and put this out as a freebie in the next couple weeks. But anyway, both of these I found at a little antique shop there in New Hampshire. So if you're ever in that area, they have some of the best little antique shops and lots to look at. Vermont Country Store is a fun place to visit. King Arthur Flour is also another great stop. And both of my boys love scones, and so I have to stock up on scone mix whenever I go there. So anyway, just a fantastic few weeks up in New Hampshire. So thank you guys for waiting on me to come back and share a little bit about that. Be watching because we are in the process of planning our next retreat. It will be next fall and will also pertain to Shakers as well. So we'll have the registration information available in the next couple of weeks. And so I'll announce it on here. I'll also announce it on my Facebook page and Instagram page as soon as registration is ready for everybody to look at. So that's something exciting to kind of be watching for. I thought, because you guys know, I like a little bit of history. And so there's been lots of debate. What's the difference in a Quaker and a Shaker? Because we hear a lot about Quaker samplers. I know I'm working on one just for myself. It's not a model or anything. It's one I want to put in my master bedroom. I've been working on it for a while because I have to do other things. And so I'm determined to get it finished at some point before we get moved in to our house. And lots and lots of Quaker samplers are available for people to stitch. Some of them have the beautiful medallions. Some of them, like my Ackworth, are more lettering. I have ligatures on my Ackworth sampler as well. So they're a different look than the shaker samplers. But what is the difference between Quakers and shakers? And so I thought it'd be interesting to compare the two. Quakers do not live in a commune. They have their own homes. They live in their own community among everyone else, whereas the shakers live communally. They would give all of their personal belongings to their family unit, because once they became a shaker, they became brothers and sisters to the other shakers in that particular community, and all the possessions belonged to the group. So they would live in the same building, they would all eat together, worship together, work together. Everything was done as a community. Whereas the Quakers lived among everybody and had family groups that they lived in. Then another difference between the Quakers and shakers. Quakers would marry and have their own families, where the shakers were celibate. They did not marry. They did not have children. If there were children in a shaker community, and lots of times there were many children, it was because parents could not provide for their children, and the shakers would raise them. Or if a whole family decided to become shakers, they were no longer a family unit. They were considered all brothers and sisters. The mother, father, and children would all be considered brothers and sisters in that communal family unit. Both Quakers and shakers believed in gender equality, which was a big step during the time period that they were really going strong. Women did not have a lot of the rights that we have today. And so for the Quakers and shakers, they felt women should be treated equally. The Quakers owned their own property. The shakers did not. Just like I mentioned a little bit earlier, all the property was held in common. So if you were, say, a member of the infield shaker community, everything that the infield shaker community owned was a part of everyone's belongings. So like if I wanted to join the infield shaker community, anything I owned would now become communal property. They were called the shaking Quakers to start with. Quakers were always called Quakers, but there was a group that kind of had a few different beliefs, and so they wanted to branch off of the Quakers. And they would get so excited in their worship services that they would just shake and quake and dance and really cause quite a ruckus. And so they were known as the shaking Quakers. And eventually the Quakers just got dropped and they became known as shakers. There are approximately 400,000 Quakers still active today. So it's not something that used to be and it has died out. There are still active Quakers in the world today, and about 400,000 of them. Compared to, there are only 2 shakers remaining in the whole world, and they are at Sabbath Day Lake, Maine, and it's a man and a woman, and they are the only 2 remaining shakers in the world. So maybe the celibate part had a little something to do with that. No children to continue the religion. There were 2 presidents that were Quakers, and I didn't know this till I started reading up about it a little bit. Herbert Hoover was a Quaker, and Richard Nixon was also a Quaker. So I thought that was interesting. I had no idea, but 2 of our presidents were actually Quakers. So hopefully that gives you a little taste of the differences between Quakers and shakers. But they're just, it's been a very interesting study, because we got started, and you know how a rabbit hole is. Once you start studying something, or I know that's how Mary Susan and I are, then it just branches off and you learn a little bit more, and you can go check something else out. And that's how we were with the shaker samplers. We said, you know, you hear all about Quakers, what happened to shaker samplers? But for the most part, shaker samplers are pretty just basic. They're basic marking samplers. They were so busy in their lives working and providing for their community that to stitch a sampler would have been practice. It would have been for domestic chores and marking linens and things that had to go to laundry. It wasn't like we're stitching for leisure enjoyment today. And I think that's probably why most of the shaker samplers were just very basic. Anyway, I did finally finish the other new release, and I showed it to you this last episode, but I'm going to show it to you again now that I have the little pom-pom glued down good where it won't come off. And this is the other new release that will be out this next week. Just Ann-Lee Clark. She was 7. I think this is just a little practice row. I know she loved color because, oh my goodness, look at all the colors she used in the top. And then this sweet, sweet verse, fear God, honor your parents, and love the truth. And once again, I just left. She kind of made a little oops. She's going along nice and straight, and then jumps up a little bit, comes back down, goes down a little bit further, then back up to where she should be. And I debated about correcting that and said, no, you know, that's part of what makes it really sweet. So I just left it in there. But anyway, this board, once again, and I'll have it listed below, is from April Taylor from her Etsy shop. You can go on and Homestead Needleworkes and just tell her it's the Violets and Verses board, and she'll know what you're wanting if you decide to do it and finish it this way. It would also be a sweet one framed if you wanted to finish it and hang it on your wall like that, you could. But anyway, trying to look to make sure had to take notes till I get back in the groove of doing these. And I think that really was most all that I had for you today. If you'll notice the background behind me, just lots and lots of beams. We came home from New Hampshire and our house was completely framed. They had a lot of it done before we left, and came home, and it was exciting because I can see the rooms. I know where each room is, and it was fun to walk through. And so I'm actually coming to you today from what will be my stitching studio. I cannot wait. I was so excited. Came upstairs when we got home, and I'm like, oh my goodness, now I can kind of start plotting where I'm going to put everything in it. So I thought it would be fun to come to you today from the inside of my future stitching studio. There's still a whole lot to be done. My husband was trying to rein me in a little bit. I was so excited to get home, and it looks like a house now. They've got the roof on. They're getting ready to put the siding and paint that coming up in another week. And he's like, Jennifer, now remember, it slows down once they get the framing done. The inside is what takes the longest. So don't think it's going to be done in another couple months. It's going to still be a while. So I'm trying to contain my excitement just a little bit, but I can't help it. It's still fun to see it taking shape. So anyway, I will attempt to come to you again this next Sunday. I am home until spring. I'm kind of excited about that. As much as I love to travel, and as much as I've enjoyed everything that we've done the last couple months, except the moving, I am ready to be home. I've got lots of great samplers that I've charted and kitted that I'm working on for market. And I can't wait to show those to you. And next week, I'll actually show you one that I'm working on and give you a little sneak peek of what's to come for this next spring. So anyway, I hope you guys take some time this next week to stitch. Enjoy being with your family. I know our oldest son and his wife are coming in for Thanksgiving, and we should see him this next weekend. I can't wait. It's always fun to have family and friends come over during the holidays. So I hope you have some exciting visitors coming to your house as well. But take care, and I will talk to you guys very soon. Bye.